So our guest,
Yeah.
you've done all the things, military pilot, airline pilot. I think most people know you most from the airline stuff most recently, but I'm curious how you got into flying.
The medium length story here. Grew up near this airport where I'm hanging. I'm still doing the same thing I was doing when I was 14 years old, hanging around the airport, riding dirt bikes and flying old airplanes. So we lived close enough to the airport here where I could pedal up here on my bicycle. And this is in the early 70s, and the air tankers were happening. This is one of the first CAL FIRE air tanker bases. And here at Grass Valley, we had F-7Fs, TBMs, B-17s, PBYs coming into our local airport as air tankers. And we were building all these models as kids. Dad has got us into model airplanes real early as a kid. And so we just came up here. We're just fascinated watching all this activity. And then I just never left. I just kept hanging around until they finally put me to work, working on some of the old tankers and then pumping gas and washing airplanes, and bought my first airplane when I was 15 years old, an old clapped out Taylor Craft.
Wow. So did it make you mad when that dude jumped out of a perfect?
Oh yeah,
it was a Taylor Craft.
Yeah, that was
yeah.
We had a special name for that airplane. Patches. That was Patches. That was a pre-war T-Craft from Lincoln that guy wrecked. And Trevor.
Yeah,
he didn't go to YouTube school apparently.
No.
He went to regular jail.
Regular jail.
Not YouTube jail, like regular jail.
But he's out and back and up to his nefarious activities again, so I hear. So I don't know. Yeah, perfect. I don't think he learned his lesson.
Juan, what did you say you paid for that airplane?
$3,500.
Wow.
I had $1,000 down from pumping gas and a $2,500 loan from mom and dad for only 9% interest at the time. It was a bargain.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
At that time, that's probably a good rate.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, during the Carter days.
Yeah, subprime loan.
15. Good on you.
Yeah. And then soloed on when I was on my 16th birthday. Got my license at 17, and then wrecked it by the time I was about 19.
What?
And then
wow.
Yeah. And then that was my only crash in my history.
Have you done an analysis of your own?
I have.
Have you pulled a report?
It keeps me up at night. I wonder how I
send it to Hoover. Let him break it down.
He'll break it down for you, dude.
There's no data. I mean, there was
crossover.
Zero data, only word of mouth, and the old guy who owned the airport saying, "Get this thing out of the ditch. You're scaring my customers away."
Nice.
Then went to A&P school right after high school. Got an A&P license. We did rebuild the engine from that airplane, and the airframe was so shot that the guys just said, "Oh, just sell that thing and don't mess with it anymore." Then got onto community college and then did ROTC. The guys at the tanker base told me to go cut your hair and go down to the ROTC at Sacramento State University and try out for a pilot slot. And they said, they looked at me with that hair down to here and they laughed. They said, "Here, kid, go take this OQT test." And so I did, and it was super easy. It was all about airplanes, about stuff I knew. Oh, hell, this is easy. Back to him, and they scored it. Said, "Go cut your hair and be back here on Monday, and you're in ROTC." And then I was able to get a pilot scholarship out of that, and then went to UPT at Williams Air Force Base, Arizona.
Wow.
Yep. Class E904. Yep. And it's tweets and T-38s. And then they said pretty quick, "Oh, Brownie, you can talk and fly at the same time. We got a job for you." Of course, you get that fighter qualification thing, but only the general's kid gets the one fighter that's available to the class. And then everybody else that's fighter qualified becomes a FAPE, a first assignment instructor pilot. So I became a tweet FAPE, but I was able to do a prisoner swap from Willie to Mather Air Force Base, and got to teach navigators. The ultimate little Air Force country club in Mather was where we got to do all the flying from the left seat as an instructor pilot, while these young navigator students that were going to go in the back seat of your fighters were practicing barfing their guts out and getting lost on visual low levels in the T-37 up and down the same Sierra Nevada mountains I've been raised on all these years. And so
that's awesome.
It was just a blast, a good 3-year tour doing that. And then, I'm ready for that fighter assignment. You guys promised me, congratulations, you got your first available choice, a C-141 to Travis Air Force Base. California. So I completed the never before seen tour of active duty Northern California, Mather and Travis. In the 141, they upgrade you to aircraft commander really quick in the 141 when you come out of T-37s or anytime you're a former FAPE, and flew all around the world in the 141, hauling a trash and a boatload of enlisted guys from one giant party to the next, all around the world. And they knew the drill and where all the cheap beer was. And,
did it break a lot like Fred and Barney?
Not nearly as bad as the C5. The 141 was pretty reliable. And Fred was, the old joke about the C5, two C5s on Guam. One of them's up on jacks. And what's the matter with the C5 on Guam? Well, there's only one set of jacks for a C5 on Guam.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
Now, did you ever take the 141 in Dhahran?
No.
Yeah.
Back then it was Black Hawk Down. It was Somalia, Mogadishu, and we were doing AAARs out to there, and then hanging out in the Mina house in Cairo, Egypt.
Somalia. So were you with the high speed, low drag folks in that area?
Well, we were just supplying them, and then supplying them going in, and then hauling all the wreckage and out once the things were kind of winding down. So we were just in and out of there, and then hanging out at Cairo, staging out of Cairo. So that was the end of the active duty thing. I had an opportunity as watching the waves and the hiring cycles with the airlines, and got interviewed. I will mention one airline. I interviewed twice at United Airlines and got turned down both times.
Really?
So I went groveling up to the Reno National Guard unit, where they had recently converted from RF-4s, the coolest job in the world.
Yeah.
Guard unit with RF-4s just ripping up and down the desert all the time, to C-130s. And so they had,
hold on.
Come on, Mover.
I've got something for that.
That's it. 4 fans of freedom, baby.
That's right.
Yeah, look, see? Look at that.
That's right, man.
Go.
We got that.
Yeah, speed limit 35.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of very bitter fighter pilots with salt in their beer from their tears, and I was like the only guy that had any crew aircraft experience, any formal CRM training. So that was a real fun cultural thing to get thrown into there with the Nevada Guard, and that was a lot of fun working with those guys. And the C-130, I learned the very difficult lesson of the difference between strategic airlift versus tactical airlift. And strategic airlift, we're just going from one big party to the next and real easy stuff. And tactical airlift, we're just doing it all: the low level, the night, the formation, the ski, the assault landings. The list of squares to fill for each check ride was just an enormous amount of work to stay current and qualified on.
Wow.
In the meantime, I was able to get on with the Forest Service and do this odd job called lead plane training. I had some connection still with the old tanker guys here, and they got me on with the Forest Service and started training up to be a lead plane pilot, flying the pressurized Barons. And that's where you lead the tankers down the smoke-filled canyons like a bird dog.
Hell yeah.
And show them exactly where to drop. And that was a year of anus clenching adventure, and a lifetime of anus clenching adventure.
Put that on a t-shirt.
1 year.
A year of anus clenching adventure.
That's ours, Juan. Just so you know.
We have, it happened on this show. So Gonky wants all rights to the anus clenching.
Yeah, there we go. Thinking about what it'll look like.
Yeah. And then finally the airline I work for today called, and that airline, if you had an interview, you basically had the job, unless you really boned up the interview. And I've been there since 1999. Does that make it
Oh.
26 years now? And it only took me 17 years to get off a reserve here on the West Coast wide body. So you kids out there that are complaining about having to do reserve for 4 months after you get hired, you have no idea what it can really be like out here when things are slow.
What'd you fly on the airline side?
Oh, geez. It's because of the vagaries of the industry and the timing, the poor timing of my career between 9/11 and bankruptcy and age 65 and COVID and everything else. As soon as you moved a little forward, you fell 2 steps back. So my first assignment right out of the gate was a 727, not flight engineer, but right seat in the 727. So I got a chance to fly the classic before it went away. And that was out at Miami. And then pretty quick, the 7576 assignment to San Francisco opened up. And that was most of my time was spent. And so really quick, I got spoiled with transcons on reserve with the 7576 from San Francisco to New York or Boston. And then the backpedaling started, and I have spent more time in the schoolhouse. And that's kind of why I enjoy doing the channel, because I've gone through all these different airframes so many times. So it would be not in chronological order, but in aircraft order. You start with the 727, the 737, 800, the 757, the 767, the Boeing 777, the Airbus A319 and 320, and the MD-80. So just about everything in the fleet. And that wasn't by choice. That was by displacements.
Wow. Jeez.
So, and some of those programs, they'd send you through twice. You'd go get checked out and qualified, fly once or twice, and then get displaced back to your previous job or replaced back to your. So the seniority system with the airlines, you guys are well familiar with. And the guys that are watching that want to get into the airlines, seniority is everything, and including what aircraft you're going to fly. And displacements can have a big effect on your career, but I was never furloughed. I got close to the bottom. I did the death march out to a base way far away, but never got furloughed. So
what has been, of everything, your favorite?
Oh, it depends on the mission.
Good answer.
What's your favorite mission? All right. Yeah.
Like dirt bikes or motorcycles. You need a bike. You need about 6 or 7 bikes for all these different missions. The airline, for the airlines, the 7.5. Yeah, that's definitely. That's
looks like
the last of the muscle jets. I mean, excess power, built for those high altitude airports. And not a lot of assistance on the single engine work. So you really kind of had to manage that on a single engine situation. And big, roomy, comfortable, and easy to fly and land. And I'd say second to that, 7.6, and then the 777. The 777 is just so easy to handle and land, which is good because you're sitting up there for 16 hours and you're only hand flying for 15 minutes. So
yeah, you fly it every 3 months.
And that could be the case too, right? And so, yeah, you may be going back to landing. You got to stay current with your landings in the simulator on those wide bodies, especially if you're FB or FC, the third or fourth pilot on those airplanes. General aviation, I've always stayed current in general aviation. Always been buying and selling airplanes because I got that A&P license. And
okay.
So
do you have one now, Juan?
I got too many, man. I'm trying to quit.
Really? All right. Hey, what's your favorite GA airplane? I'm curious.
Well, again, that depends on the mission too.
Hey, just to climb in, go out and have fun.
Yeah, right now the one I'm having the most fun with right now, the one that I own is the Aviation Husky. That's just a good all-arounder. It's only a 2-seater, but it can get in and out of 400 feet. So you can use it as a really good bush plane. But it'll toot along at 120 miles an hour. So you don't have to take all week to get there, like some of the Cub variants. And it's got excellent range. I can get up to Idaho to the good stuff in one hop in like 3.5 hours from here in Northern California. And it's a great trainer too for training folks in. So right now I'm really enjoying the Husky the most. In the past airplanes, one of my favorites I ever owned was a Pitts Special. If you guys have not had a chance to fly
I've flown the S2. Yeah.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
that's the way a small high performance airplane should handle is the Pitts. Picture here somewhere of my first Pitts ride. Here it is.
There it is. Yeah.
Yeah, first ride in a Pitts, boy. That
Yeah.
just
That is
hooked
cool.
me. And then
You legit strapped that airplane on.
yes, you would wear it. And then so I went out and got a little S1C, and then we ended up it turned out I was terrible at aerobatics, and I knew it would just take forever to get any good at it. And then at that time, the biplane class at the Reno National Championship Air Races was kind of dying off because there was a couple of high-speed racing biplanes. Sorceress and Sundancer was running away with the pack, and so they called all you acro guys. We're going to change the rules and let all you acro guys in to fill up the field. And so we went up and raced at the Reno National Championship Air Races for about 5 or 6 seasons in the biplane class, ripping around in the pits, and that was just a blast.
Did you like? I mean, to me, I think airplane racing is kind of crazy. But did you?
It's totally sketchy. That's why after 4 or 5 seasons, I said, oh, okay, I've rolled those dice enough now, and I've had my fun, and now I can really see the sketchy part of it. But I didn't see any fatalities in the biplane class the time that I was racing.
That's awesome. Juan, what about on the mill side, man? What was your favorite?
Military, definitely the T-38 for sure, boy. That is just every time you just look, you know, if an airplane looks good, it's going to fly good. And man, that T-38 just has all of that in spades. Just love that airplane. And I came into the Air Force pilot training with about 1,000 hours of GA experience, which they had to beat the death out of me to get that out of my system and make me fly right and professionally and stay on the yellow line.
Yeah.
But it gave me the ability to actually enjoy the T-38 training, whereas so many of my peers were just absolutely sweating it out because it was really cutting. A lot of folks couldn't hack it. They couldn't graduate because they couldn't figure out the T-38 in the time constraints of pilot training. And
oh, dude, I know. I mean, I went to it after 1,500-1,600 hours in F-18, and I was like, this airplane, this thing is.
Yeah. So you went back into ATC as a tour?
When I switched, got out of the Navy Reserve and went to the Air Force Reserve, I went to a unit that was flying T-38As for Red Air. And so they sent me to there to Texas, basically where they FAPES, where they were teaching the T-38 IPs. Yeah, Randolph.
Yep.
Yeah. I think
showcase of the Air Force.
And yeah, man, I got in that thing and I was like, oh, this will be like T-45. I remember that thing, piece of cake. I got in that airplane. I thought, man, why? Like the Air Force should be killing a lot more people. That's amazing. That's what I thought.
It did early on. It did. That's why there's so many notes, warnings, and cautions in the Dash 1.
Yeah.
It's only, when I was a reservist in the Hornet, like I was like, the plane's easy. It's the mission that's hard. Dude, a couple weeks out of the T-38 and I would go back to it. I'm like, I got to really watch that final turn. I really got, airspeed control. You know what I'm saying? Just basic flying. But that's what made it fun.
Yeah. It was such a fun challenge to get out there and nail those landings, man. It was so fun to be able to do that.
Yeah, I'm not sure I ever did, but
and they're still flying those same tails today.
Yeah.
The ones they're still flying the same ones,
wings and everything else. And all
they probably had new car smell back then. Now it's just sweat, tears, and regret.
Years of regret, sweat, fear.
Yeah,
lots of fear.
All the 100%. Fear. Yeah, the seat cushion's been changed a few times.
Oh man,
it's all different.